Hello everybody, welcome back. My name is Melanie Josephine. I am the award-winning author of Love Life Simplified. I'm a relationship expert and certified life coach, and I welcome you to today's video. I hope you're having a lovely day. I am so excited for this episode, the 7 ways of making your relationship last. And I have put so much energy, effort, research into this video so that you get the best out of it. And I am sure that you're going to learn at least one thing that you didn't know. And if you came here to make your relationship last, you have come to the right place. So let's begin. The first point I want to address is to not gossip about your partner. Now, this may potentially be a no-brainer, but I want to address this because I think that, we are human beings, and here and there we get annoyed about things and we do talk about our partner. And if it's like very limited, very minor, only very occasionally, then it's not a big deal. It is only when the amount of things that annoy you that you don't address with your partner but you address maybe with your friend becomes really large that it could be a problem. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because from like my New Year's resolution in 2019 and for 2020 was not just for my relationship, but for any relationship, to when there is anything bothering me or when there's any issue in the room, that I would address it with the person that I have the issue with and not with somebody else behind their back, because it is just too easy to go to somebody else and just gossip. It doesn't take any effort, any courage, but true courage is really when you face it with the person that you have the problem with. So the only exception I allowed myself is that if I didn't know how to address it or what words to use, that it would be okay to speak to somebody about this and then address it with the person. So the other reason this is so important is because of the energy that you put out into the world, but also the energy you put into your relationship. Because you can imagine that if you talk negatively to other people about your partner, that you put that negative energy into your relationship, which is probably not what you consciously want if you want to stay in that relationship in the long term. And whatever goes around comes around. So if you gossip a lot about your partner, then it is just not positive energy that flows into your relationship. The more you focus on your partner's flaws, the more your thoughts will be driven to that and the more you will see that. I'm sure you have experienced yourself, like when it comes to, let's think about a person that you really don't like. So because you really don't like a person, you'll see all of the things that you don't like about them, and it's very easy for them to come up with another thing that you don't like because you already don't like them. And that's because your focus is on the dislike and not on the like. If you pick that same person and you would force yourself to only see things that you like, you would be able to see some things that you do like. And it is the same in your relationship, only that you did pick that person to be with. So the more you focus on the things that you do like rather than the things that you don't like, the better your relationship is going to be. The second point is the solution to when your partner's in a bad mood. So when your partner's in a bad mood, everybody sometimes is in a bad mood, but it can be tricky, especially, and this is actually an example from my own life, let's say your partner, like you've been looking forward to spending the weekend with your partner all week long, and that's the only quality time that you have with that person because you work a lot or whatever. And so you come to see them on a Saturday afternoon and they're in a bad mood and they don't want to do what you had planned to do. So then what? So basically what I used to do, which was not very good for my relationship, which I've learned, and I'm sharing this with you now, is that I would be upset because my partner was in a bad mood, and then this would just spiral. Whereas there's one little sentence that can help you here that may sound very, very minor, but that you might just want to try on if you're in the same situation. So if you're in a situation where your partner's in a bad mood, what you can say to yourself is, my partner's in a bad mood, but that doesn't mean that I have to be in a bad mood. And you just don't have to make the situation about you, but about something that is very normal. Everybody is in a bad mood every once in a while. Doesn't mean that you have to be in a bad mood, and you can just carry on. This point leads into the third point, which is showing up for yourself. So this is a huge learning for me in 2020, not just with my partner, but generally, because I mean, I'm sure you know that sometimes people show up for us and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they stick to the agreement that we've made and sometimes they don't. And if you make a pact with yourself that regardless of who shows up for you and when, that you will always show up for yourself, then you're safe. Then you don't have to put any pressure on your relationship. You don't have to put any pressure on your friends or other people in your life, because they're not responsible for your happiness. Because ultimately, also maybe going back a little bit to the second point that I just mentioned, whenever you expect somebody to be a certain way, for example, that weekend I expected my boyfriend to be in a good mood, you're kind of in a subtle way saying that they should make you happy. Or I said that I expected him to be in a good mood because then I would be in a good mood. But he's not responsible for my happiness, and other people are not responsible for your happiness either. I know this may not always be what we want to hear. It's nice to be carried by other people and not to show up for ourselves, because then we don't have to make any effort. But when we do take the responsibility to show up for ourselves, we take the control back. We don't have to rely on other people to bring us happiness. We can just do that for ourselves. And the more we do that for ourselves, the more magnetic we become, the more we draw people to us, because we have that amazing energy around us. So let me give you another example. There was a friend of mine, and we were meant to meet to go for a walk. And so we met up, what am I talking about? We were meant to meet up at 11:30, and at 11 o'clock she messaged me that she couldn't make it. And my first thought was that I was like really annoyed that she's canceling such last minute, blah, 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 blah. But then I said to myself, well, I've booked this time slot off for myself to go for a walk with her. She's not showing up, but I'm still gonna show up for myself. So I went for a walk by myself, and I had a fabulous time because of my thoughts, because I was thinking, I'm having such a good time, I'm connecting with nature, I'm so grateful for being outdoors and fresh air. And I only focused on being annoyed about not her showing up for like maybe 3 to 5 minutes, then I let it go. And then I focused on the good part, the me still going out, still having a good time, and showing up for myself. Yes. So the fourth point I want to mention is you may need to do some inner work. Maybe you don't, maybe you do. It depends where you are on this journey, but usually actually never really stops fully. Because we all have some wounds from the past, whether this is from childhood, previous relationships, anything. Like, it doesn't, I mean, mostly it does connect back to our relationship with our parents. A lot of things do, but it doesn't have to mean that it only does. Like, there's so many factors. Sometimes we carry like invisible baggage into another relationship, from the previous relationship or from other things that we that we experience. Now the cat obviously wants to go out, of course. All right, come on. And so, this is obviously not our intention at all. We may not even be aware of this, but when we do this, this usually comes up in triggers. Like, our partner may do something that upsets us, and that is very unintentional, but we get very upset about something small or minor because it reminds us of something in the past, or we feel like we're not being respected even though we are. This is not to discount that there could also obviously be situations where maybe you are disrespected or else, but that's not what we're talking about here. The only thing I want to talk about here is about the triggers that come from your past and not from your partner. So this is a very good question to ask yourself within the relationship, and when something happens that upsets you, is it me, or is it my past, or is it actually my partner? And then obviously having a conversation with your partner is usually a good idea, but probably choosing your words wisely so that your partner doesn't feel offended, but understood, and vice versa. The fifth point is a very interesting one. Water the grass where you are. Very often when we're not in a relationship, we want to be in a relationship, and when we're in a relationship, we're not sure if this is a relationship that we want to be in. But that usually is watering the grass elsewhere, not where we are. Like, when we're single and we're unhappy of being not being in a relationship, we're like comparing ourselves in a negative way to people who are in a relationship. And when we're in a relationship but we're not really happy where we are, we compare ourselves to other couples who we may think have a better relationship or else. My advice to you, if you want to be in this relationship and you want to make this relationship last, or at least give it a proper go, is that you start watering the grass where you are. Because while you're at your neighbor's grass, you can't be watering your own. That means stop comparing, stop thinking about the neighbor or whoever you're thinking about, and think about what you like about your relationship, what you like about your partner, and maybe think about what you could do to make him or her happier. Not just what they could do to make you happier, because our thoughts so easily wander to what they are not doing, when it would be so much more beneficial for the relationship to focus our thoughts on what they are doing and what we could do for them. That is what I mean when I say water the grass where you are. The sixth point is know your boundaries. I used to think that once I found a nice partner, I wouldn't need to have boundaries with them. How wrong I was. You need to have boundaries with anybody and everybody in your life, especially your partner. Why especially your partner? Because nobody else comes as close to you, comes as close in terms of space, emotional well-being, all of that. Like, nobody comes as close and triggers you the way that your romantic partner does. Therefore, this is the person, if you have boundaries with anybody, this is the person you need to have the boundaries with. And usually what happens is that we don't really know what our boundaries are until we are in a relationship. So if this is the case and you notice, oh, I'm uncomfortable in this situation, now ask yourself, how could the situation be different next time? What would make you feel more comfortable? Really get to know yourself that way, and then have a conversation with your partner, or don't have a conversation with them. It depends on what it is and how you want to tackle it. I suggest, if this is an issue for you, or if you're just interested in this topic, to watch my boundaries live stream about that, because I go into way more details in there. So just look it up, Melanie, Josephine, boundaries, and you'll find it. The last point, and this is a really important one, not particularly always an easy one, but very, very important, and that is love your partner as he or she is. Why is this so important? Because everyone, including you and I, we all want to be loved as we are. So how can we go around and not love our partner as they are, but expect them to love us as we are? Doesn't really work, does it? So let me give you an example, because I used to actually have this issue. I used to think my boyfriend is way too disorganized and late and all these things, and whether that's true or not true, it's always your choice whether you want to be in this relationship or not. And if you do, I want you to just consider what I'm about to tell you. So I battled with this for a really long time, but what does it really mean when you battle with something? You're really just resisting it. And I was asking myself whether I can live with these flaws or not. But truth is, I came to the point that I can, and that since I've begun to simply love my boyfriend the way that he is, including his flaws, things have completely changed. And I had read this somewhere before, and I had a feeling that this might be the case, that things change in a positive way once I simply drop the act and just love him as he is. But you can't really go into this with those expectations. When you decide to drop it and to stop criticizing, this doesn't mean that you never say a word or that you have to accept everything. Like, that's not what it means. It just means that ultimately you do know who the person in front of you is. And let's say your partner is disorganized, and every week you're like, you should be more organized, you should be more organized, you should be more organized. Imagine that somebody would do that to you. You'd be so annoyed, and the last thing you would want to do is get more organized. So if you actually accept your partner as he is, disorganized, he may actually come around and get a bit more organized. But don't expect that he will. Decide whether you want to be in a relationship with somebody who's disorganized or not. But don't keep beating yourself up or having that negative mind talk, because who is feeling those negative emotions? It is you. So that doesn't serve you in any way. And the point of it all, and I was like when I come to a conclusion that I hadn't thought of before, it like almost blows my mind. I get so excited, and this is what happened this time. And it is that the quality of your relationship is directly related to the quality of your thoughts. Like, it is, some people think it is about the perfect match, or that you have a lot of hobbies in common, or like things that you have in common. But the truth is, it doesn't actually matter whether you have something in common or nothing in common. What matters is what you think of the relationship, or what you think of each other and together. That's what matters. Let's take a relationship that like where the partners have nothing or not much in common. I actually can give you an example of a friend, because I had to chat to a friend about this topic, and she said, my husband and I do not have much in common. However, we just made it a point of picking some things that we want to do together. But well, she didn't say that, but from other conversation I could tell that they have positive thoughts about each other, that they have a very happy relationship, that even though they don't have that much in common, they enjoy their relationship because of how they think of each other, how they relate to each other. And this also comes down to a point that I've mentioned in my book, Love Life Simplified, which is that you could literally choose anyone to love. I mean, you don't have to. You get the big choice from who you want to love, but ultimately you could potentially love anybody. And it is about the thoughts that you choose about that person, which then create the love that you feel in your heart. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I really loved spending that time with you. If you enjoy the content I'm creating, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. And I'm sending you lots and lots of love, and see you in my next video. Bye!